Hello and welcome to a very special Film Ireland podcast in partnership with the Galway Film Fleadh, which takes place on the 9th to the 14th of July. So today, ahead of their world premiere at the festival, we are chatting with DOP Jaro Waldeck and writer-director Steven McKenna about their fabulous feature Dreamtown. So thank you guys so much for chatting with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Jim.
We'll do a kind of deep dive into the film, which is so impressive. But first, I want to go through your own backgrounds and your own experiences working in film first. So, Jaro, we have spoken to you, but like years ago. So what I'm going to do is like anyone with an interest in cinematography, check in the bio because that will have a link back to that, which really details your experience. But I was wondering if you could give us the broad strokes, Jaro, and then what you've been doing more recently. Because I think, what was that, 2019 or something? I don't know. I'll check.
I come from the Czech Republic and I've been here over a decade. So I feel like I'm almost Irish now.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're deeply sarcastic, which is I think the main thing. Yeah.
I studied cinematography in America and then in Prague. I went the academic route, so really dove deep into it, got my degrees, and then moved to Ireland and I started shooting. For many years, it was short films, music videos, anything I could get my hands on. And then a turn came when I'd say maybe in 2019, when I started shooting more like projects that had bigger budgets or shorts that had better budgets. And as of, I think, 2023, I've started to do feature films, Dreamtown being my first drama feature as a DOP, and I've done a few documentaries by now, feature length, and I hope to do more.
Ooh, very exciting. And I had the pleasure of working with you recently and it was brilliant. So anyone with any gigs coming up, definitely get in contact with you because this is so visually beautiful. Like at every element of this, it's a painting, it's a music video. It's just so stunning. But we'll totally go into that and how you guys created the look later. Steven, tell me about your own background. I love your eclectic nature of the stories behind the shorts that you film. So I was wondering if even you could work in a little bit about the type of projects that you've worked on and maybe what drew you to them as well when we get your background.
So when I finished college in about, I think it was 2014, I started kind of making shorts myself. So I was kind of self-financing them, saving up, finding crew, and I would work with kind of different crew, some similar, but I would write and direct my own films. But I took each short film as like an experiment. So if I was afraid to do something, I remember one short I was terrified of doing dialogue and writing dialogue. So I made a 20-minute film that's just dialogue, just to experiment, just to see. And I learned a lot from those things. So each film was like just a little experiment and doing things that I was unsure of, trying to find my voice. And then I think eventually then with Dreamtown, I kind of knew this is the type of film I want to make. And I had made films before. Now they're not online and stuff that I wasn't happy with because they weren't true to me and they weren't my own, they weren't in my own voice. So I knew when going into Dreamtown, I was like, well, no, this is what I want to say. This is my type of film. I want to put all my voice into this.
And do you think there's a world in which you're a writer only or a director only, or would you very much so see yourself as I create the work from scratch? Is that part of the process?
Oh, well, I would love to do like I would love to direct someone else's script if I connected with it. You know, writing is really difficult, but I love the process of writing and creating a world from scratch and bringing it to life. I love that. So I would always want to do that. But I'm more than happy to direct somebody else's script and story if I connected with it.
And self-financing. So was that are you putting in for the regional schemes and the kind of the shorts schemes, or was that a choice that you made to kind of control the
Applied for some funding, yeah. Yeah, I did apply for some funding, yeah, but I kind of, as you know yourself, like you don't always get it. So I kind of just screw it, like just make it myself. And
And
it's a
and
short film is fine. Like you can make a short. You don't need like 50 grand to make a short film, like realistically, and I can edit myself and I can do a lot myself. I can pose myself as well. So I enjoy doing all of that kind of thing. So I'm happy to do that. And I don't cut costs. Like I'll pay everybody, but I don't need 10,000 euro to make a short film.
wow, I definitely do. Oh my God. But that's it. The polish on your work is incredible, and I think that probably gives you a better understanding of different departments and a more empathetic understanding when you're going in, going, yeah, I know how labor intensive this
Yeah,
section of it because I've done it myself on my projects.
I can kind of talk to everyone a little bit about every department. So I can talk to the sound guys about certain things, and I can talk to the camera people about certain things, and I can talk to the ADs about certain things. So I have an okay knowledge of technical aspects of the film set.
And do you feel like, okay, so you would have done your undergrad, and I do think it's interesting to just say the act of making a short film as opposed to a student for it short, and there's so much more in the line and dealing with professional crew. It's a different experience. Like, do you feel the learning process accelerated when you were finished college, or that they gave you the base level to be able to do that?
I really enjoyed my college time, right? And I had a really fantastic tutor, right? And she was amazing. She taught me loads, but it didn't really tell you how to make a film. Like it put you in a group and said, okay, you're going to make a film this year. Okay, great. And you kind of just have to do it. So you kind of have to figure it out. It doesn't te like it never taught you about how to direct actors. It didn't really tell you about how to find crew. It didn't tell you how to like find like resource stuff. You had to really do that all yourself. So the biggest thing with directing the film is, I would say, working with actors, and that isn't taught. So like even working with a DOP and a camera team, like you didn't do that in the course. It was other people from the course joining our group and going, okay, I'll shoot this one, and then I shoot maybe their project. So when I the first real film I made outside of college was Loverboy, and I remember I hired a DOP and I said, look, I've never worked with a DOP before. She goes, okay, well, I'll tell you how it's done. So that was an example of me being afraid of working with like a bigger crew, but it worked out really well, and I learned loads from it.
And definitely. And tell me about your relationship with Yarrow. Have you guys worked together before? Were you familiar with each other's work? Was it just this project?
No, I'll let Yarrow talk a little bit about that, but I knew Yarrow through working on Patricia Kelly, her films. So I think Yarrow shot two of her short films, possibly three. But
Mhm.
me and Patricia, while Patricia was making short films, I was also making short films, and we did like joint screenings together to exhibit them. And I met Yarrow through Patricia, but I never worked with Yarrow. But I'll yet let Yarrow fill in the blank there.
Yeah, as Steve said, we met through Patricia. He attended one of the screenings, and also Steve edited one of the films that I did with her. And I think, we kind of connected there. And then when he had the script for Dreamtown in development, it was the pandemic. Steve got in touch with me, and I I think I'm speaking for myself. The fact that I connected to the script, there were several lines in there that resonated with my life's experience. Maybe encouraged the fact that we worked on it together, because I feel that if people, when they meet, and if they connect over the work, the written words, I think that kind of gives you it opens the door to collaboration. So on my part, I felt that was what Stephen needed, and from there it just started. We would meet up and reflect over the script, and then start getting ready. So it was a very natural, organic process. It took a couple of years, right, coming out of the pandemic, getting everything together. But yeah, it was one of those experiences. I haven't had that many yet, such as this one, but it just flowed, and I didn't feel like anything was forced. It just kind of fell into itself, which I
Mhm.
loved.
Yeah, that's such a nice natural progress because again, like sometimes it's down to the wire and everything is a big ball of stress, but it sounds like you had a lot of time to work through things. I'm going to talk actually, Stephen, the
Yeah.
resources of this film. So maybe a little bit about prepping it because I'm always interested in like how people can afford to be filmmakers because it's so hard.
Yeah.
Like and everything costs so much money. So talk to me a little bit about putting this together from script, from idea.
So, Aslan,
Yeah.
my
I'm
dad.
from Finglas though. Hate to
Okay,
say it like
right, there you go.
yeah.
So my dad was in Aslan before they were Aslan. He was the bassist. So they used to be called Mila 18. And he was in them for quite a while as the bassist, but then that didn't work out. And then he made his own band in the early 90s called Shane. And their most famous song in Ireland at the time was Dreamtown. So the film takes the name from Dreamtown, the song, right? So I was kind of inspired. I remember on I think it was my 28th birthday, could be 27th. We were playing Dreamtown on the TV, the music video, and my dad was looking at it. And my brother comes up to me and goes, "Here, Steve, look at Dad." And Dad is just standing in front of the TV crying. And I kind of thought at that moment, I was like, right, okay. I already had this idea of a failed rocker in my head, who goes around bar. But then now after seeing that, I was like, I have to make a film about this. It's not about my dad. It's about failing your dream. It's about wanting to really do something and trying really hard, but things don't work out or things don't go your way, and you essentially you fail at it. But if it's hope afterwards.
One of the interesting choices about the writing in this is how, and I thought this was a very interesting choice because I actually feel like I know a lot of people like Mickey, but there's sort of an entitlement there where it's like, I should have had it. And part of the arc is about unraveling
Yeah,
ego
yeah.
and that, but it makes him very like kind of like a tough watch in the beginning as well because you're like, oh God, like you see that level of failure. But again, like it is something as a writer, dear God, like you're rejected, you fail all the time. No one knows it like
Well,
more empathetically than yeah, it's a tough the creative industry. Like you're kind of always losing.
yeah, exactly. I didn't want to make Mickey. Okay, are you ever in a bar? And this might sound bad, but are you ever out somewhere and you see somebody and you kind of get a vibe off them? It's like, oh God, he's probably a weird guy, or you, you get a vibe off them. I wanted to put the audience in that shoe where they immediately see Mickey and go, ah, this guy's a loser. And they're now judging him. And over the course of the film, he's humanized and there's empathy. Now, whether or not you feel empathy for him at the end of it, that's up to you. But I didn't want to make him this typically likable person because he's very bitter
Mm.
and he needs to act bitter.
Yeah. But I mean, I know that like what I felt is that he was quite a realistic depiction of that person. I think we all know a
Yeah.
version of that, especially when you're in the creative industries
Yeah.
that that they but it was interesting and it was an interesting take and you can see like, that like almost like that toxicity between himself and his and that competitiveness with the
Yeah.
younger generation. No, I find that like a really interesting theme. And I like it's something that you want to ask, but without asking, like, oh, is there any autobiographical nature to it? But you're saying no, it's like a fictionalized
No,
like
it's
version of like
no
what could
the
have been
character.
in a nasty, yeah.
Yeah, the character is essentially fictional, right? But to be honest with you, he's actually based on probably mostly me. To be honest, it's probably mostly me and him. Like not my dad. The history of the character comes from my dad's time in the music industry, so he's nothing like my father. Um, but I had a lot of fun writing him, and intrusive thoughts. Yeah, well, I feel like Mickey is someone who just lets intrusive thoughts win all the time.
I love that though. But I do like, but you do identify again with that kind of like that failure and that kind of crushed ego. And again, it's something that was so visually striking and the world was curated so well. Putting the money together then, like how did you fund this?
I self-financed it. So I saved for a very, very, very long time. And I was actually going to put a deposit down on the house. And it was going to be, it was that or make Dreamtown.
Oh
And I
wow.
kind of,
That's,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
Sophie's choice. Like
Yeah. And I kind of said, like, as much as, like, I still live at home with my parents, I'm 31. So I sacrificed that. And I kind of said to myself, in 2 years, if I were to get really sick and die, would I be happy dying in my own house that I bought, or would I be happy dying having made Dreamtown? And I Dreamtown was the answer, so it kind of was easy then.
yeah, that is so brave. That is especially in the light of everything. That's so powerful. But again, like it's very in point and it is about chasing your dreams and going for it. And it like at the end of the day, it's a really accomplished film and it's beautiful and it's like hopefully this will go very far. Like and when you're saying that, I'm like, oh God, now I'm so much more invested. Like
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose when you hear that kind of
yeah,
stuff, it does make it more personal. But
yeah.
most people, like when they look at a film, they just see the final product, you know.
Mhm.
So hopefully it does have that truth and honesty with it, that when people watch it, that they feel that and that comes true.
But it is that like this is the thing about short films now. It's such a saturated market. A feature will bring eyes to it in a
Mm.
way that, and anyone that I know that did self-fund a feature, like their next money was Screen Ireland money if they hadn't gotten it before. Do you know? Like anyone that they did that self-funded feature. Did you call in a lot of favors or was it, do you like kind of certain, and how long was the shoot actually first?
Okay. The shoot was 17 days, 18 technically in total, because we had one day like a couple of months later. And it's actually kind of funny because if you watch it, no one notices this in the film. I don't know if I should say this, but
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
in one of the scenes, you see the trees all have leaves on them, and then the continuation, all the trees have no leaves on them because it was shot like 4 months apart. But no one noticed it. I didn't even notice it until I watched it like for the third time. I was like, oh my God. But so it's technically 18, but it was a 17-day shoot in total. And
That's impressive considering how many live scenes and crowd scenes and venues and like, do you know
it,
it's not like two people sitting in a
yes.
house. There's
Yeah,
a
no,
lot
to
to
be
it.
honest, 17 days wasn't actually enough. We did it, but I think we absolutely could have done with like 20. A 20-day shoot would have really, really helped us kind of get everything we wanted. 17 was really tight.
And how did you feel about that, Yarrow? How did you feel
Well,
about there's a lot of lighting.
yeah, I mean, I listen, in an ideal world, you would always like a little bit more, time, a little bit more resources, but then you have to also be realistic and look at what's possible. And I think you asked whether there were favors asked. I'm yes, there were.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were favors that Steve had to ask that I don't even know about. Uh, but like we had to. I wanted to make sure that even though there was limited time and limited resources, that ultimately at the end I would be proud of the work that we did because um, when you're trying to, particularly as a cinematographer, when you're trying to take the next step, uh, often people think that's what it is. You just take the next step, but to make something visually distinguished or something that differs from your previous work, it takes these resources, having budgets for the technical equipment and also being able to pay a more experienced crew to help you on. And this wasn't possible here. So I doubled up as a gaffer as well on this film. But what was allowing me to take the next step was my collaboration with Steve, and the fact that uh he had a kind of very clear idea of what he wanted visually to say. Steve invited me to his house one day and we watched films that he was influenced by, and we just had a day of watching movies together and talking about how this was shot, blah blah blah. And so we talked very, very in detail about the color palette, when the camera will move, what will it mean? And we kind of created this language that I felt if we can execute it, then that's the thing that is my next step, and if I can still execute it on a limited budget, much less equipment, smaller crew, and in the time that we had, I felt confident going into it that even in 17 days we could do that, and it would, for all of us, not just myself, but it would be something that was a step up from what we've done before. So that's why I went into it. If I don't have that feeling, if I don't feel that it could be done, then I probably, at this point in my life, I would back out of a project. When I was younger, I went into everything head on, and maybe I've never seen the project in the end because it never got finished, but now, having had more experience, I try to be mindful of the people I work with, and kind of entrusting myself into their hands, and
Because it's such a tender pot, isn't it? Like it is, you're on set, everything's going wrong, things break, like there's so many moving, spinning plates at
yeah,
any one point that if you do have to trust the people that are around you, because it's like a low stakes war zone, and that like it's that kind of high octane, anything can happen, but there's like it's
yeah.
not life or death. You're creating stories, but it is, yeah,
But
like
it
it's
feels, in the
resources.
moment, it feels like life or death.
Yeah, I know.
Because we are all so passionate, we will
Yeah.
all want it to go well, and we're so invested. But sometimes it's important to kind of pull yourself back. And Steve was brilliant working with, because he's very chill, and so if I could feel myself getting worked up, I just needed to look at him and go, channel your inner Steve, Jaro.
I will add, I just want to add to that. I was suffering silently. The whole thing.
That's a
And
play to the
basically,
director, though, isn't it?
I had to, well, like if you start, as the director, if you start freaking out, it's going to bring everybody else down. And at the end of the day, you're captured the ship. So it's like if you go down, what's everyone else going to do, and who are they going to look to? So that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. Again, something they don't really teach you, like how to not manage a set, but like how to keep the energy on set. But I just want to add to what Yara said. Like the crew that we had for this, I remember the AD said to me before we went into it, he was like, I was like, right, so what do you think? Do you think it's possible? And he said, it's ambitious. I was like, okay. So is that a yes or a no? He goes, it's ambitious. I'm like, right, okay. So there
Who
was
was who
that.
was
So
your AD?
Brian McDonnell.
Yeah, I knew I could
Yeah,
hear him. I could
yeah.
hear
No,
him in that. He's
he
brilliant.
he was brilliant. He really was, and he really believes in it. And I think everyone, actually, all the HODs, really believed in the film, and they seemed to love working on set. The energy was so nice between everybody, and the film, it just would not have been possible without everyone's dedication to it. Like I kind of, yeah, I wrote and directed it, but it's everyone's film. It's they made that film possible within the time that we had, and the energy and like it just made everything go so lovely. So I kind of can't thank them enough.
Well, I think that's a real testament, because it is so stressful, and I think
Yeah,
that's it, to try and keep the nervous systems of the actors okay so that they can access all parts of their emotional. Like, I mean, even that is tough because it is so stressful. And Like I can't imagine what it's like when you're like, okay, I literally have my my future on the line with this. To be able to keep it in check. But did you find at any point, okay, I actually want to go back into the time frame, but I'm just while we're in this moment, I would like to ask this. Did you at any point go, oh God, this is not going to work at any point, and then keep it to yourself? Was there any bits that you were like,
Yeah.
oh,
I just recalled one moment, but take it away,
yeah,
Steve.
Sorry, were you asking me or Yarrow?
yeah.
Um, right. So on the week up to the shoot there, we didn't have a bar. And as you know, loads of the film is shot in a bar, right? So we didn't have a bar. And I was like, right, okay. And I was going around town asking every bar, what can we, and it was no, 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 no. Anyway, eventually, and this is a real testament to um making friends and networking in the industry. A lot of the stuff that happened was because of the short films that I had made prior and the connections I made and the people. Like, I have very good relationships with the people I'd made prior or made films with prior, and through them I got other connections. And it just so happens that a friend of an actor I worked with is this like club rep who knows loads of these bars. And she was like, leave it with me, Steve. I'll sort you out. And she found the pawn shop. And within a week, she was like, they're happy to give it to you. And I was like, right, excellent. So th on that week up, I was like, I was absolutely anxiety ridden. I wanted to die. So I was so scared. And eventually I kind of just said to myself, I remember Yarrow was actually, this was after we had the bar, I think. And Yarrow said to me, she was a bit worried about everything, or she seemed a bit stressed. And I remember just saying, it's like, well, Yarrow, we've hired everyone now and we've got all the locations and it's going ahead. So whether we like it or not, we have to make this film. And whatever happens, happens. So let's just go for it. And in that moment, I kind of realized, screw it, we've done the work. It's now up to well, not the universe, but we've done most of the work. Whatever happens, happens. And it's going to be whatever is meant for the film. And I just trusted that. And it was fine.
It
Hmm.
was. It really like it's better than fine. It's a really beautiful, solid, finished piece that looks well, that has strong performances, that has like strong arcs throughout the whole thing. Like it's just a like a brilliant like first an impressive first feature. So the fact that not only did you have one hat, but like literally wore every single hat for the entire like producing, directing, editing, then did you get
Yeah.
post houses on board afterwards?
Only for the color.
Wow.
Yeah. The editing, like at this point, I had hemorrhaged money. Like, I can't afford an editor. I actually spoke to one editor. And I won't say any names, but he basically told me, yeah, I get that down to 60 minutes for you. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I'm like that's I cut that down to 60 minutes. I was like, okay. He goes, yeah, you can cut this out, you can cut that out. Like, he's making a sandwich for 10 minutes. Like, what are you doing? It's like one half of the film is red, another half of the film is blue. Like, it looks like two different films. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about, man.
But that's
That's
when
not
people
a
don't
great
connect.
choice.
When they don't
Yeah,
connect
no,
with what your vision, you can just tell immediately.
yeah, I was like, yeah, no. And I just said, I can do this myself. I've been doing it for years. It's fine. And
If
yeah, I could be rootless when I need to be rootless.
And just say the money fairy dropped like a kind of relatively blank check for like indie Irish blank check. Was there anything that you would have done in the constraints of this being this film? Is there anything that you would have done had, like just the limitations not been so there? Like, would you have got an external editor from the get-go? Would you have done a different location? Like, is there anything
So
like from the wish list?
yeah, I would have I would have done a longer shoot. I would have absolutely done that. Yeah, there's some scenes that are just done in one shot that had to be done because of time constraints. And I would have liked to do more. I would have liked to do more with movement as well and dolly, but the dolly is like that took up so much time to set up a dolly. And it was an old school dolly as well. It wasn't like a new modern one. It was like the one that no one wanted anymore. So,
Yeah.
so we got that one for cheap.
But
The
I,
tripod head didn't even work on it properly. So that just, I would have gone for probably a good few more days. And I don't know, like, would I've got an editor? Yeah, like, I would have liked to see what an editor did with it. Yes. Yeah, I would like to see what an editor would have done with it. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so one of the things I'm going to go back to, and I think this was something that you got a version of the script, Yarrow, back in like 2020 around COVID time.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
So
Do
had
tell me, Steve, if I'm lying.
So let's go through even
Remember,
the timeline of the project. So you had an earlier draft of it at that time. Were you working on it the whole time? Did you shoot it to film at that point? What was the plan, Stephen? What was with in terms of the idea? Was it always sitting around in the back of your head for a good long time, or
no, so it was a short originally. Its original title was called Slick. So he was like Slick Mick, right? That was meant to be the original thing. And the short was fine, but it was like, damn, this was back nearly 5 years ago now. And it was too big to make a short. Yeah, have you ever seen a short film that's like a feature crammed into a short? It's like it's trying too much. So that's what this was. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna write this as a feature. And I knew, right, okay, yeah, this is the feature that I want to make. But it always felt a bit too big. It felt a bit too impossible. And I was very afraid of it. So I ended up writing another feature, a one location thing. That I was like, okay, no, I'll make this as my first feature, and then I'll do Dreamtown next. And then someone said to me in my writing group, and he said, Steve, your other film is good, but if you want to be noticed, make Dreamtown. And it was real genuine. It was real like you have something special with Dreamtown. You should make that film. And it was the kind of little kick that I kind of needed to go, screw it. Okay, I'm going to make Dreamtown. Whatever. If it's not as big as I want it to be, fine. If it ends up looking crap, fine. At least I went and tried to do it. But it doesn't look crap.
does it not?
No, it doesn't. No, it yeah, that was yeah, it's the film I wanted to make, yeah. But
And
it took
yeah, I was going to say, how many iterations of the draft then? Like, so you have a writing group. Do you like submit regular small sections to them? Do you have a partner that you work with?
no, it was just me. I actually wrote a lot. This is probably interesting. I wrote a lot of the dialogue and the scenes with Tony Murphy. So I had cast Tony, the actor who plays Mickey, um, way before I even spoke to Yarrow about it. And my friend was like to me, I was talking to him about Mickey Richards and this guy, this character, and he was like, "Oh, you have to meet me, mate, Tony." So I met Tony, and as soon as I met him, I was like, "Oh wow, you don't even need to act." So I had him pegged for this for the whole time. I never auditioned for Mickey Richards, and I would write the scripts. I would send him drafts constantly. I would send him new scenes, and I would call him. I would play whoever's not Mickey Richards, and he would play Mickey Richards, and I would workshop the scene over the phone with him through COVID, during COVID, and I would just write it like that. And then I would go back and I'd write it again. So it went through like 13 drafts, I think.
I was going to say actors like they just have such a brilliant sense of character. Like they really, I just think they're the best in terms of like really understanding what makes people tick. Yarrow.
I just wanted to say that I got a few versions of the script, and as Steve was improving it, and I think what was great for me was just kind of seeing that I was kind of consulted and I was asked for my opinion, which
Yeah.
doesn't always happen. So that was for me, even just that at the beginning was a sign of like, okay, this might be a good collaboration, because I just felt considered, and absolutely a DOP we don't have to be consulted at all, really. So this was just very special. And yeah, I wanted to say that the script did evolve And I saw that as a good thing, that it didn't get locked in its first iteration. It's like, let's shoot it. Like Steve was always open to improving it, to making it better. And I think that's a really great quality in a writer, director.
It is, and it sounds like it was a really enjoyable experience to work on in terms of like one of those real satisfying things where you and I do think that's when things become bigger than the sum of their parts as well, when everybody is heard and gets to make it incredible. And the cast, the talent, like I really like a big shout out. Like I mean, Anthony Tony Murphy, so good. And he like just like and again, like he Slick Mick, he does have a slickness to him. He is so familiar as a character, and you present him in such a way that, you know, like deep down, there's that empathy there. But Cian is such a beautiful young soul. This like very young talent. And Yara was telling me this is his first film.
Yeah, this is his first. I think he was in a short possibly before. I know he did Bow Street, but this is his first. Yeah, I think this is his first film. Yeah.
So Keen Highland. Yeah. So he
Yeah.
has, I think,
Yeah, he did a
one.
great job. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just so like that, like very low key performance, but very kind of like a kind of very beautiful quality, a very kind of vulnerable quality as a young person that you're really kind of drawn to watch him and watch his arc. Can you tell me about even writing him as a character? What like where would you get your inspiration for him?
Well, so I think with Alan, the character. So I always wanted him to be a bit kind of like Mickey in that, like when he's on stage, he's very, out there. He's wearing eyeliner, he's got a shirt open, like he's kind of into him. He's a performer, but when he's around his dad and stuff, he's in his dad's shadow and he can't outperform his dad. So the way I looked at Alan and Mickey in their relationship was that Mickey just wants Alan to look up to him, and Alan just wants his dad to be proud of him.
Mm.
And Alan, like, Mickey's not in his life. He's been raised by his mother, usually. So um he's it's not that he's afraid of Mickey, it's that he kind of is revere the right word. He
Yeah.
kind of does look up to him, but he hates the fact that he wants his dad to be proud of him. So there's that hostility there. There's that like, I hate that I want you to like me, but I need you to like me because he's his dad. So
And I must say though, I really loved the performance of Aisling O'Neill. Like she's in it for such a short amount of time, but she just brings such empathy to what, like, you know, traditionally, you know, it's like, oh, the nagging ex, but no, like she's the one person I was on side with the whole time. I was like, I
yeah,
completely, I would, I feel like you have restraint in the level of intensity. It's such, again, like I know I keep going back to the cinematic feel of it. There's the live music. It's so striking and beautiful. And again, like you've these intimate domestic locations and it's so elevated. Like thinking back to Mickey's kitchen, that
yeah.
is just like I don't even know where you would find something like this. It's like
Well, yeah. So to be honest, the houses was the most difficult thing to find, and again, this is just like, from working with people like Patricia, right? So Patricia Kelly, who director of Vertigo. So she's in my writing group, right? So we're on a very similar kind of path, right? But I worked on Vertigo, and like I've known her for years now, and it was her cousin's auntie who actually had that house. And he was like, "Look, I've got this other house. You might not like it, might be a bit old for you, but look, you can have a look at it and see." As soon as I walked in, I was like, "Done. You don't even need to decorate this set. It's done." So
it's
yeah,
like powder blue, like
yeah.
vintage from like the 70s, is it? Is it the 70s?
I could be, yeah. I don't know the exact date, but I know the women who lived in it were 90. Like they were like, yeah, they. I don't think it had been decorated for quite some time.
And but it's so visually striking that it just like amazing, like Wes Anderson aesthetic in a way.
Yes.
But grimy, because like
Yeah.
that's exactly where the type of place
Mm.
Mickey would live. But that's it's striking. But all the locations, the bars, Fibber McGee's, you were saying that was a last minute piece of luck, but I mean everything is
Sorry, no, that
The
Fibbers
bo-
wasn't.
oh
I
yeah. Oh
tried
no,
to
sorry,
for
the
the
main
pawn shop.
bar. Yeah.
The main bar was a last minute piece of luck. Yeah, that worked out well. We had to shoot through the night for that because the roof is glass. But
Oh
yeah, it was that was probably the hardest part of the shoot actually, the shooting through the night. I think everyone was feeling the heaviness of that.
God. And what was it like in Fibbers? So that I presume it's during the day. Was that mostly in the basement?
Yeah, so that's in the basement of Fibbers. And your man, Levy, the manager, like he's fine. He's like he's totally grand. It's like, yeah, you go down and use it, whatever. So he he's very relaxed with the whole thing.
That's
But I
amazing.
have
Yeah.
to say, we did have limited time in these locations.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
while they were available, there was always either a shift ending or cleaners coming in the next morning. And so I remember feeling time pressure. And when you asked us earlier if there was a blank check, where would you have put it? I would have put it into being able to black out the glass roof in the pawn shop so
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
worked during the day. Because I feel like we had over a week, didn't we, of night shoots in that place.
It was long. We wouldn't have been able to shoot during the day anyway because the outside of the bar, like the windows and stuff, would have been bright, and every angle would have been.
Yeah, but that's when you build a blackout outside to be able to shoot, or at least some of the parts, the back parts we could have shot during the day.
Yeah.
Or you
That's
build
where
the
the
whole
money. That's
bar from scratch in Ardmore.
oh well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I am actually. I would love to do that. I would love to build an entire set, like of an apartment or something like that, because then you can have total control of every camera movement. And I love a dolly. So like
Mm.
trying to put a dolly into an already built apartment, you can't always get the shots that you envisioned. So if you could build your own apartment, I would love to be able to do that.
That's coming, Steve. It's all
Yeah.
it's all
Next
happening.
up.
Yeah.
But I also want to comment on the locations. The fact is that, I mean, what I was keeping in my head is how do I tie them together to make it look like one film? Because the locations don't look the way they look in the movie. A lot of the transformation happened through lighting or in Mickey's house. Um,
Yeah.
I tried to do the rest of it. The kitchen is pale blue, but the rest was yellow. And yellow didn't quite fit in the color palette
Yeah.
so I tried to shoot at night to hide the fact that it was yellow. Also in the smoking area where of the main bar, the red bar, it was painted like lavender purple,
Yeah.
and we needed to turn it into red, neon like. So a lot of the locations, they had very difficult challenges that had to be worked out. Luckily, we were able to work them out. But yeah, that's I just want to make sure that maybe people out there thinking about shooting their own film, they need to keep this in mind that the way they look in the movies nowhere near what they look like in real life.
Yeah.
But you did
Mm.
a wonderful job. Talk to me about finding that color palette. So this was all born from discussions that you guys would have had early on, once the script was getting to a place that you you decide on a color scheme for the film. What were your references as well? Just how did you work on that together?
Um, the references came from the main reference for the film came from a John Cassavetes movie called The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. And I just love the aesthetic of that movie. Taxi Driver, Midnight Cowboy, they would have been references as well, like stylistically anyway. But the whole idea of the color palette was that when Mickey is in his reality, it's blue. and when he's in his dream world, per se, right? So when he's out, when he's getting ready, and he thinks he's, this big shot, it's red, and that was how we did the color palette basically of the film.
Yeah. His kind of glory, reliving the glory
Yeah,
was red. So that was the initial color that we knew that was going to be it. And the blue being on the opposite of the color wheel, you kind of felt, yeah, that made sense. But I think that actually happened when we found the kitchen and we
yeah,
knew, because I originally was thinking that maybe we wouldn't go blue with Mickey, but we would go something like my background, gray screen, something.
yeah,
When we were looking for the house for Mickey, I remember seeing other options that were more like what I was imagining, but they didn't work out. The blue kitchen worked out, and so that confirmed to us that we had to embrace that color. And then that informed me what color we were going to give to Kian's character, Alan. And because he's a character who is very, to me, seems secure in who he is, we put him into a strong blue hue where kind of showed youth and confidence, whereas Mickey had the pale one as if an older version or washed out version of
yeah.
himself.
Talk to me about recording the song and the music from it.
There's the score, there's the soundtrack. The song Dreamtown is essentially a remade version of my dad's song Dreamtown from my dad's. So I made that in my bedroom, and that took again 13 drafts to get it to that point because I was like I couldn't remake it. I was like, how the hell am I going to do this? So what you heard is like the 13th version of me trying to remake Dreamtown, and then the score is obviously, but that's just me in my bedroom again doing my thing. And I wanted to have like an 80s kind of synth feel to it. I didn't want any pianos in it, or if I like your like classical stuff, I wanted to keep it synth because that's what the son makes. So he makes synth music. So I wanted the score to acknowledge that. And if you notice that the first half of the movie, it's all grungy and kind of heavy and rock music. So as Mickey gets closer to his son, the synth scores start to kind of come into play. So that's how I did that. And the soundtrack then is, some of it is my dad's band, and some of it is a grunge hard rock band called Six Till Eight. So they do all like the music like in the bar, and they kind of fill that kind of grungy world.
And it's really exciting to get to watch this on front of an audience. So you've your Irish premiere coming up. Are you insanely excited?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I am. Yeah, yeah. I'm a bit nervous, as you would be. I don't know how it's gonna go a dead down. I don't know how it's gonna be received, but I think we all put in tremendous amount of work. I think we've done our best, so whatever happens, happens.
And it's a
I'm
it's a
trying not to.
really good slot. So
Yeah, Saturday, apparently Saturday is a good, it's a good slot
so
for
what time again? It's 2
2 p.m. on a
2 p.m.
Saturday.
2
Yeah, in
p.m.
the
on the Saturday at the Galway Film Fleadh. It's some accomplishment and like really you really created something that is very elevated. Like no way would you imagine that was the resources behind it. Good luck for the screening. It's a really wonderful film, and thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jeb. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
And you can get your tickets for Dreamtown or check out the wonderful festival program at galwayfilmfleadh.com.